Yeah, well, I mean, I just wanted to say that I watched like the highlights that you showed, especially the ship getting blown out of the water. Now I remember the Iranian generals were saying that our ships were going to end at the bottom of the ocean, and that's theirs. Like, look at that again; it's on the screen right now. Boom! Like I love it. I mean, so I don't know why we can't be on and just celebrate that.
What you just saw was a clip of so-called Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania on Fox News. Seems like he's always on Fox News these days. It's the only thing he really goes on. He loves those guys. Celebrate a war. Celebrate destruction, death, violence. I mean, you saw it in the clip. He was the one who said we should celebrate this. He's happy about this. He was happy when Israel attacked Gaza as well. It's not just with the U.S. attacking Iran. He likes senseless violence. He thinks that it is some moral right. But it gets worse. It gets worse. He doesn't want this war to end. In fact, he wants it to continue. Look at this news that just came out. Senator John Fetterman calls on Israel to assassinate Iran's new Ayatollah. Wow. Yeah, you heard that right. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Ayatollah is a good person. We all know he isn't. It's obvious. But you can't just go and abduct, kidnap, and assassinate world leaders. You can't. Trump's a terrible leader who has so much blood on his hands. I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic, his handling of that killed like 250,000 people. All of his drone strikes. Tons of people died in Venezuela when they bombed that. All the people that are dying in Iran. His help in the genocide in Gaza. But nobody's kidnapping him. Because that would be insane. You can't do that. You can't just grab and kidnap world leaders. It is insane. John Fetterman has completely lost his mind. Completely. It's time that the staff needs to step in. They need to get this guy out. They need to tell him to resign immediately. He's clearly not fit. He lied. He straight up lied to the people of Pennsylvania. As you know, I'm from Pennsylvania, and I had faith that we were going to have a Bernie Sanders of Pennsylvania. Oh boy, was I wrong. John Fetterman is more like the Joe Manchin of Pennsylvania. In fact, I would actually say Joe Manchin was a bit better than John Fetterman. Isn't that something? I genuinely believe that. John Fetterman is so bad that he's to the right of Joe Manchin, and probably Kristen Sinema as well. He's that bad. He's essentially a Republican. He has said multiple times that he would like to have Trump's endorsement, and that he congratulates Trump, that he stands with President Trump. What party are you in? Like, you completely betrayed all of your voters. Everyone. The state of Pennsylvania deserves better. You should resign immediately, and we should have a special election to fill his Senate seat this year. He won't do that because his ego's too big and his brain's broken. I mean, the man can barely speak. You saw from that interview. He was constantly tripping over his words. He has no idea what's going on. Even his own family these days are saying they barely recognize him. He's gone. I don't know what happened. Maybe he was always a liar and he was always going to sell out to Israel and all of these other lobbying groups. Or the stroke really damaged his brain and made him MAGA overnight. Maybe that's genuinely what happened. I don't know. But he needs to go. And if he doesn't resign, we need to primary him in 2028. Luckily, there are some people stepping up to the plate. As you could see, the one-term Democrat, John Fetterman, was elected in 2022, and he has filed paperwork to run for re-election. I didn't even know you can file paperwork 2 years early. That doesn't... I genuinely didn't even know that. So, yeah, he's going to do it. I can't believe he's going to do it. He clearly isn't fit for the job. He betrayed everyone that voted for him, but he's going to do it. There are people lined up to primary him, and we got to get behind somebody. Connor Lamb looks like they're going to be making a comeback. And if you guys remember, the reason Pennsylvania voted for Fetterman was because he ran as a more progressive Democrat than Connor Lamb. People didn't like Connor Lamb because he was the establishment's choice. He was the Chuck Schumer endorsed candidate. But John Fetterman is so bad that Connor Lamb is even criticizing him for not being liberal enough. That's how bad Fetterman has gotten. Well, there's other people who might challenge him as well, like Malcolm Kenyatta and a few other people, like district attorneys from Philadelphia, U.S. reps. There's a few people who might get into challenge him, and I do hope that one of them gains recognition, because Connor Lamb is not what Pennsylvania needs. They clearly didn't want him the first time. They chose Fetterman because they believed Fetterman's lie. We didn't want Connor Lamb because he was just some corporate suit. Turns out John Fetterman was too, and even more so. Though, if Connor Lamb is the only realistic choice, we have to support him because Fetterman is that insane. He is a Republican in every aspect, essentially. He's been to Mar-a-Lago to Trump. He supports many things that Trump does. He doesn't want to defund the DHS and ICE. ICE should be abolished. That's the moderate position. Now, you may have some issues with the stuff I'm saying. You might be like, okay, he is really bad. But the reason we need people like Joe Manchin, John Fetterman, Kristen Sinema, or like back in the day, Joe Lieberman in the party, is so that we can win over these states that are harder to win. Pennsylvania is a swing state. It's not like a red state. Even though Joe Manchin was terrible, I can actually understand the idea of him in the Senate because, West Virginia is like a plus 40 Trump state. But Pennsylvania is a plus 1 Biden state and then a plus 1 Trump state. That's it. It's a swing state. You don't need to be this moderate. You really don't. Look at this. He ran as a progressive in 2022 and won by nearly 5 points. Pennsylvania is clearly ready for that. They want a working class fighter. And that's what they thought they were electing. That's why he won by a pretty decent margin in 2022. And to be honest, if it wasn't for his stroke, he probably would have won by even a little bit more than that. But he didn't. And maybe the signs were there at the end. Maybe I was somebody who, didn't know if the stroke would really affect him all that much. Turns out it really did. We need to get John Fetterman out if we want to keep the seat. Because if he does run, what's going to happen is the Democrats just aren't going to turn out. If you're a progressive Democrat from the suburbs of Philadelphia and your option is a Republican or John Fetterman, who are you voting for? Most likely you're probably staying home because what's the difference between them? And if you're a Republican, who are you voting for? You're voting for the Republican because why vote 99% Republican when you can vote 100% Republican? That's why whenever you pivot towards the right, it never works out, especially in anything that's a swing state, a blue state. Pivoting towards the right never works. Because all it does is you lose your own base. It just hurts your turnout. We could see this with the supposed electoral juggernaut of Bob Casey. The man threw away the election. He did. If you're from Pennsylvania, you know what I'm talking about. Everyone thinks he's this electoral juggernaut because in 2018 he won by 13, in 2012 by 9, 2006 by 17, right? He's this massive electoral juggernaut was the idea. Yeah, because Bob Casey politics worked in 2006. Bob Casey politics do not work this time around. And then he just got lucky in 2012 and 2018. 2012 was a pretty good year for Democrats. Look at how much Obama won by in 2012. That's pretty good. It was going to be pretty hard to lose, Pennsylvania when Obama's winning it by over 5. And then 2018 was a blue wave, so he's gotten incredibly lucky. So now he had to run in a real race. And what happened? The people of Pennsylvania, Democrats, they didn't turn out because why vote for Bob Casey, who's very moderate, pretty conservative on issues? You might be like, Bob Casey's not that conservative. You must not be from Pennsylvania. If you know his campaign, like his billboards, his ads, his radio ads, his, if you were on YouTube and stuff, you were getting his ads if you lived in Pennsylvania, and 75% of his ads were talking about how he wants to work with Donald Trump to take on China and all these other things. You think those are popular positions in the state of Pennsylvania? Yeah, maybe if you're MAGA, but if you're MAGA, you're going to vote for McCormick. And they did. So all it did was hurt Democratic turnout. Look at in Michigan and Ohio and Wisconsin, they held on. If Bob Casey ran as a liberal, he probably would have held on. But he didn't. He ran to the right, killing his base even more so. John Fetterman is going to get us into the same situation, which is why he has to go. He should resign, but clearly he's not going to, which is why we're going to have to primary him then. We're going to have to support whoever it is, even if it is corporate Connor Lamb, unfortunately. Pennsylvania deserves better. It's a dying state, and these people keep killing it. I mean, Dave McCormick, super rich, but John Fetterman, a sellout to all the lobbyists. Josh Shapiro is one of the most conservative Democratic governors in the country. I mean, why can't? It seems like everyone in Pennsylvania's politics is a liar on the Democratic side. They talk about how they're going to, fight for you, and then they get in and they govern kind of like a Republican from the 90s. It's awful. I wish it was better. It's why people keep leaving the state. It's deadlocked here. I know this video is kind of a rant video, but after seeing what John Fetterman just did, talking about assassinating the new leader of Iran after we just assassinated the other leader like 2 weeks ago, it's just, it's insane. It's psychotic. That's why I'm pretty skeptical of most leaders. I know a lot of people are getting behind Graham Plattner, and Graham Plattner might be great, but I'm not taking any chances. I trusted John Fetterman too, and yeah, look at how that got us here in Pennsylvania. I don't want Maine to find itself in the same position. Though, like I said, Janet Mills is awful too. She's a corporate dem. So if Graham Plattner does win in Maine, and it looks like he will, I hope he can earn my trust. Trust needs to be earned. That's what I've learned from these politicians. You cannot trust a single thing that they say. Not whatsoever. You need to look at their record, the organizations behind them, their staff, and everything like that. That's why this Dem Tea Party is so important. My next video will be covering the results in Illinois' primary, which will be happening on Tuesday. So if you're in Illinois, vote for Cat. Well, if you're in Illinois' 9th Congressional District, vote for Cat. And for the Senate race, you don't have a great bench, but probably Stratton's maybe the best. Juliana Stratton, I don't know her name, but the Lieutenant Governor of Illinois is probably your best bet. She's endorsed by Elizabeth Warren. I know one of the other candidates is endorsed by Elect Illinois Women, which is actually an organization associated with AIPAC, but they're, AIPAC has a bad rap these days, so they're trying to, have these new names and stuff to win over Democrats in their primaries. But yeah, Illinois is going to be a real test. I don't want you guys to end up here like we did in Pennsylvania. Don't make the same mistakes that we keep making all the time. Don't let the billionaires and the politicians fool you. The Dem Tea Party needs to happen. It is the only way forward. If we do not go forward, we will continue to lose. Nobody wants to vote for a Republican light. Nobody. Republicans won't vote for a Republican light because they could just vote for a Republican. Democrats don't want to vote for a Republican light because Democrats want to vote for Democrats. It's a simple concept, but people just can't get it through their heads. So no, John Fetterman is a liability. These corporate Dems, these sellout Dems are liabilities. They are ruining the party. We need to purge them from the party. Alright, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one.